Rachel Zegler torched into career change before Rachel Zegler Snow White flops and is released into theaters. Welcome back to Views with Hughes, Agenda Free News. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, we all know that Rachel Zegler, her career trajectory isn't going so well because what Rachel Zegler is doing right now speaks volumes about where the entertainment industry is currently heading. Now, Rachel Zegler, as many of you know, is facing backlash over her portrayal of Snow White or the Rachel Zegler Snow White and the way that Rachel Zegler has handled the criticism that's come her way. But more importantly, Rachel Zegler has been making decisions that could potentially define the next phase of her own career. And Rachel Zegler and her move to New York City could be the most strategic decision that Rachel Zegler has made yet, especially considering the Hollywood turmoil surrounding Rachel Zegler's name right now. Now, before we go ahead and get right into it further, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, and be sure to turn on all notifications and watch the video at the next video at the end of this video. Now, Rachel Zegler hasn't exactly been shy about her, feelings toward Hollywood. You see, Rachel Zegler's been open in interviews about how she feels disconnected from Hollywood scene. And Rachel Zegler, in her latest decision to relocate to New York, which is close to her home in New Jersey, is clear indication that Rachel Zegler might be ready to leave the film industry behind, at least for the time being. You see, Rachel Zegler and her role in the Rachel Zegler Snow White has sparked outrage among traditional fans of the character, and Rachel Zegler has not backed down from the criticism. Instead, Rachel Zegler has doubled down on her version of the Rachel Zegler Snow White, a version that Rachel Zegler insists is more modern, independent, and diverse. You see, Rachel Zegler has been unapologetic about the creative direction that she's taken, and Rachel Zegler's critics have been just as vocal about their displeasure, and this fueled the backlash even further. But Rachel Zegler, being the savvy actress that she is, or so called, seems to have recognized the stand in Hollywood might not be in her best interest right now. That's why Rachel Zegler's move to New York could be a signal that Rachel Zegler is planning a major pivot in her career. And let's not forget that Rachel Zegler has roots in musical theater, and Rachel Zegler has always expressed a deep love for the stage. You see, Rachel Zegler's Broadway aspirations, could allow her to redefine herself in a new arena, one where Rachel Zegler has more creative control and less scrutiny from the film industry's watchful eye. Or let's hope that Rachel Zegler would at least change her attitude and everything and not become so entitled. Now, this also raises the question: is Rachel Zegler leaving Hollywood because Rachel Zegler feels that her film career is in jeopardy? But with all the controversy surrounding Rachel Zegler's upcoming roles, including with the previous Hunger Games prequel and the upcoming Rachel Zegler Snow White, it's not hard to see why Rachel Zegler might want to take a step back from the spotlight. You see, Hollywood has not been kind to people, including like Rachel Zegler, especially if they ran their mouth so much in recent months. And while Rachel Zegler has tried to remain confident in her choices, it's clear that the pressure is mounting. You see, Rachel Zegler's move to New York could be Rachel Zegler's way of retreating from that pressure while still staying relevant in the world of entertainment. You see, Rachel Zegler, after all, is no stranger to controversy, from her own outspoken comments about the lack of diversity in Hollywood to, her unapologetic stance on modernizing classic characters like Snow White. Rachel Zegler has been, a bit of a lightning rod for the public opinion. Some see Rachel Zegler as a trailblazer who's not afraid to challenge the status quo, while others view Rachel Zegler as a symbol of everything that's wrong with Hollywood's current obsession with political correctness and woke ideology. And Richard Zegler's handling of these controversies will ultimately determine whether Richard Zegler can sustain a long-term career in the entertainment industry. But for now, it seems that Richard Zegler is focusing on making strategic moves to protect her future. But what's also particularly interesting about Rachel Zegler's career choices is the timing. You see, Rachel Zegler is making these moves at a point when Hollywood itself is undergoing a massive transformation. The rise of streaming services, the decline of the traditional box office revenues, and the increasing backlash against woke content are all factors that are reshaping the entertainment landscape. Now, Rachel Zegler, whether she realizes it or not, is caught in the middle of this cultural shift. And Rachel Zegler's move to New York could be seen as an attempt to distance herself from these industry wide changes, especially with the backlash against, woke storytelling continues to grow. All right. And that's nothing new. We've always talked about that. But let's not forget that Richard Zegler's involvement in the Snow White, the Richard Zegler Snow White has been one of the most contentious casting decisions in recent years. And Rachel Zegler was cast as Snow White, a character traditionally depicted as a fair-skinned and European, which led to immediate criticism from those who felt that the Rachel Zegler's casting was an attempt to by Disney to push a political agenda. And Rachel Zegler, for her part, has defended the casting decision, stating that her version of Snow White, or the Rachel Zegler Snow White, would focus more on inner beauty and strength rather than physical appearance. But Rachel Zegler's critics have not been satisfied with that explanation, and many have accused Rachel Zegler and Disney of prioritizing diversity or woke ideology over storytelling. And that's forced diversity. But this is where Rachel Zegler's move to Broadway could be crucial. You see, Rachel Zegler's theater background gives Rachel Zegler a unique opportunity to shift the narrative surrounding her career. On stage, Rachel Zegler can showcase her talents in a way that doesn't involve the same level of scrutiny that comes with being a film star. You see, Rachel Zegler can control the kinds of roles that she takes on, and Rachel Zegler can choose the projects that allow her to prove her worth as a performer without the baggage of Hollywood politics. Now, another thing to consider is that Rachel Zegler's decision to go back to her roots could be a way for her to escape the controversies that have defined her her film career so far. But you know what? Even as Rachel Zegler prepares for her next chapter, the question remains, will the backlash against Rachel Zegler follow her to Broadway? It's hard to say it honestly, and Rachel Zegler's critics have been relentless, and the internet has a long memory. And Rachel Zegler's comments about the Rachel Zegler Snow White and her unapologetic stance on modernizing classic characters have made Rachel Zegler a polarizing figure. Now, if Rachel Zegler thinks that moving to Broadway will shield her from further criticism, Rachel Zegler may be in for a rude awakening. But if anyone can navigate the treacherous waters of the public opinion, not sure if it's Rachel Zegler. But let's not forget that Rachel Zegler is still young, and Rachel Zegler's career is just getting started, and Rachel Zegler has already achieved a level of fame that most actors can only dream of, and she has shown that she is not afraid to take risks. And Rachel Zegler's move to New York may be one of the biggest risks that Rachel Zegler has taken yet, but it could also be Rachel Zegler's best chance to regain control of her career. And Rachel Zegler knows that Hollywood is a fickle place, and Rachel Zegler's decision to step away from it, even temporarily, could be a smart move. But at the same time, this is the same Rachel Zegler who admitted for the second Shazam movie that she did because she needed a job and she needed the money. But let's be honest here. In the end, Rachel Zegler's future would depend on how, well that Rachel Zegler can adapt to the changing entertainment landscape. And Rachel Zegler's move to New York is just one piece of the puzzle. And Rachel Zegler will need to make more career choices about the projects that Rachel Zegler takes on from here. Now, Rachel Zegler's career has already been defined by bold choices and controversial roles. And you know what? If Rachel Zegler can navigate the backlash and continue to push boundaries, well, then Rachel Zegler may yet emerge as one of the most influential actresses of her generation. So, yeah, once again, we find ourselves asking, what next for Rachel Zegler? Is Rachel Zegler leaving Hollywood for good, or is this just a temporary retreat? Will Rachel Zegler succeed on Broadway, or will Rachel Zegler's critics continue to hound her no matter where she goes? One thing's for sure, Rachel Zegler is not done making headlines, and Rachel Zegler's next move could be very well determine the trajectory of a career for years to come. As always, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that Rachel Zegler is making the right move by heading to New York? Can Rachel Zegler overcome, the backlash, or is Rachel Zegler's career already on the decline? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share this video far wide across social media. Also, be sure to watch the videos that's appear on this end screen and watch more videos as well. And if you enjoy what I shared in this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click on notifications so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.